You can also take that person you just spoke about that might have 2 years into this, and you really don't know what this guy knows and what or girl knows or doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that is a great way to find out what their weaknesses are and get them up to speed, right? That's what you want. You want to build this machine that all these pistons are firing. Everybody knows how to do the work. Everybody understands what the expectations are. And you use this as a tool to help you get into those spots.
Today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Ken Midgett. He is over at Interplay Learning, and what they are doing to help HVAC companies, plumbers, electricians, even solar companies and construction companies implement an accredited apprenticeship program, a training program, so that you can bring in unskilled workers and show them a lucrative career path. It's just amazing what they're doing over there. We're going to talk about how you can get in front of some of the best people out there, put some tools in their hands, teach them a craft, and grow your business. Well, hi, Ken. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
You know, we chatted a little bit before we got started, just really about the trades in general. We're going to talk about a lot today. I'm really excited about today's episode because, believe it or not, there is a skilled labor shortage, or at least it feels that way.
Sure is.
And here's the funny thing. It's nothing new. Anybody that's been in the trades for a long time, they've been feeling this shortage for a long time. But you know, for me, I always like to change the way people think about this, because this is a problem that I believe can be solved. But there's some myths. There's some things that we believe that aren't correct about getting new people, the next generation of workers. How do we get them into the trades? Tell me, what's a myth that you know of, or maybe a tactic that you have that we as an industry need to rally behind so that we can change the way people think about this problem?
Well, one myth is that people who work in the skilled trades don't earn a lot of money. Right?
Yeah.
That's a definitely an identified myth, and that it's filthy dirty. You're going to be burned out by the time you're 35 physically.
Yeah.
And it's just not that way anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. And I'm sure they're doing this in the plumbing space, but you know, in construction, how much they're gamifying and bringing in robotics and technology, and like it's not your grandpa's plumbing company anymore. Like it is so different now. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of technological changes. You know, you can see from the gray hair here that, you know, I've been around a little bit, and I come from the era that as an apprentice, if you did something wrong, you better be the best ducker in the world because you were getting something thrown at you. You know, it's not that way anymore. I don't want to say anymore. I would say that it's almost nothing out there. And the fact that you're going to make a sustainable wage, typically just from first year apprentices, is usually double whatever the minimum wage is in your area. And you're going to get trained to skill that no one can ever take away from you. And I don't want to say will never be done by robots, but a long, long, long time till they make robots that can do plumbing, right?
Yeah.
I think we're a good 50, 60, 70 years out to have that perfected and have that application happen. So job security can't be farmed out. Great opportunities for entrepreneurship and just career growth in general.
We work with a lot of plumbers, and the work we do over here at Core Matters, helping them with recruiting and hiring plumbers, whether it's the skilled or the entry-level technician, the men and women that are out in the field actually doing this work. And one of the things that we run into a lot is people had no idea how great of a career it could be before they got into it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues that's happening right now is, and this has probably been happening for a while, we have a lot of plumbing company owners that have just said, hey, I want that skilled tech that's got 10 years experience, that knows how to do it all, but I want them to come work for me without any of the bad habits of having 10 years of experience.
You're really speaking my language here,
right? That's what they all want. You know, I speak to that for me.
Yes. Well, we've pretty much here, you know, I work for Interplay Learning, and we make digital and VR desktop software, which we could talk about later, but we've pretty much gotten away from, I think the industry thinks this too, is that the days of just going to get a skilled person and put them in place and have them working in 2 weeks or less are gone. To your point, when you do get one, they're going to be highly expensive. They're going to most likely have baggage. And I call that, in that bag of baggage, if you will, is what I refer to as water cooler cancer, right? In a company. I don't believe in doing it the way they do it here. I've been doing this for 15 years my way, and this is the way we should do it, even though this is the company operational policy, right? Which in turn just spreads all kinds of problems down below into the ranks of the company. So the days of getting the superstar that you could just push it, give them the keys to the truck and say, go do this work, are pretty much over. So I think a more realistic approach for getting techs is to home grow them and dare use the words recruit, ramp, and train. And that's the way you're going to get them. Hire for attitude and then train them to do the work the way you want done.
I love that.
I think that's a very easier philosophy. You know what you're getting. You basically develop the person. And to a higher point, I was listening to one of your podcasts this morning. You talked about fishing, about leaving for 2 weeks and coming back in this podcast. But he mentioned a thing about, sharing this procedure with the new hire. So, you find this person in whatever company they're working in, they're a CSR on the phone. You walk into a fast food place, you walk into an auto repair place, and you find this person that has the right attitude, wants to learn, looking for career growth, and you share this path with them. You show them, I'm going to train you, and here's where you're going to start, and I'm going to pay you to train, and you're going to earn this amount of money when you learn these skill sets, and we're going to prove that you learn these skill sets by putting you in the real world and having you doing them in front of somebody who can witness that you know how to do them. And you share this whole experience that's going to happen for them and show them how they're going to get to this path, their career trajectory, if you will. I think when you do that for somebody that's young, you're going to hook them. Because everybody says that, Generation Z, they don't want to work. That's baloney. They want to work. You just need to help show them the path of how they're going to get from point A to point B. You're going to hire me as an entry-level person. Where am I going to be in 6 months? Where am I going to be in 18 months? Where am I going to be in 5 years? How do I get there? Here's the path. And we're going to encourage you to stay on this path. We're going to check in with you and so on and so forth. So I think that's the secret sauce, quite honestly, is to look for the right attitude and the person who wants to learn.
It's interesting that you say that, because I hear a lot of people talk about the generations and Gen Z, and they're lazy and entitled. It's the same thing they said about millennials a decade ago. They're now saying about Gen Z. And I was like, well, all these generations can't be the problem.
Right.
It can't be that way. What I find is that a lot of times especially when we talk to the younger generation and they're coming in, it's not that they don't want to work. The hard truth is they don't want to work for you. And it's because they don't know what you can offer them. I love what you said. You're at Chick-fil-A and you've got this person that's like, how can I serve you today? And they have this mindset and this behavior and this attitude. And you're like, well, have you thought about ever serving yourself and looked into a career in the trades? Let me, when you're off your shift, let me spend 15 minutes with you. Come by my shop and let me show you how you can go from making $15 an hour serving chicken sandwiches to a 6-figure career.
Yeah.
And let me show you how to get you there. And it's marketing, right? It's public relations. It's taking that message and getting it out there. So when I hear find someone and train them, hire for the right attitudes and train them, what I hear is, that's going to be a lot of work. I got a business to run. I got jobs to run if I'm still in the field. I've got all these other things to do. How am I ever going to find time to A, build a training program, and B, actually train them? Like, can you speak to that? Because I think that might be another myth about taking someone that doesn't have the skills and getting them ready for a lucrative career.
Yeah, I absolutely can. The company I work for, we definitely have a product that fills all those buckets. You don't need to have a high-end, expensive training facility. You need an iPad, a laptop, a Surface Pro, and the purchase of the software per head, and you start assigning that software. And it takes that person from the entry-level position, all the way up to as high as you want them to be. And I think that's some of the things to interject the thing here is that when we talk about career paths, we just talk about, well, you got your journeyman's card, you got your master's license. Well, what about all the other things that you can get? What about your MedGas certification? What about your backflow certification? What about all these other assets that you could add to your capabilities? Back to the software. This program will allow you to assign it to an entry-level person, an existing technician that you identify weaknesses with, and you let the program take over to train them. And you have an administrator dashboard that you can see what their productivity is. You can talk to them and say, look, you're slipping behind. Remember this income raise we talked about? When you get to these thresholds, we can take care of that for you. So, there's a whole bunch of different ways to incentivize them, but this is what you can do. Now, the other side of this, of what we offer is, we have two different programs, and one works differently depending on how you use the hardware. We have a video-based program that gives the foundational learning. So this is a pipe. This is what it looks like. This is how it connects, blah, 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 blah. And then we have the virtual reality, which can be done with a desktop or a laptop or an iPad, or you can use a headset and go completely immersed in the environment. And when I say immersed, think about that you're an HVAC technician and you are going to work on a contactor on a unit that sits outside the house. But if you have that VR headset on, you're going to be down on your knees with a meter, putting it on the contacting screws. That's what I mean by immersing. And the same thing on the plumbing side. When you're going to hang a tankless water heater, you're going to bend over and pick it up off the floor and hang it on the brackets that you screwed to the wall. So that's very intuitive to our younger our Gen Zs, right? They play, they're gamers. This is a big deal for them. So you can use it that way. And you can also assign it very simple, just with an iPad, a Surface Pro, a laptop, a desktop. And it works the same way. You're just going to use your mouse and click through the procedures. And this part of it is where you will truly learn. You as the administrator, you will confirm that they are learning, because there's an assessment that takes all of the niceties away. So in the beginning, there's all these glowing things that tell you where to click and teaching this muscle memory and these sequential steps. When you go into the assessment mode, all that comes off. You have to know that you're going to pick up this meter or this screwdriver or this hammer drill or whatever it is to do the given task. So now you are demonstrating the behavior that you're going to demonstrate in the field.
I want to know a little bit more about Interplay, because I don't think you've mentioned the name yet. But for those of you listening right now, it's Interplay Learning, and I want to learn a little bit more about this. But what I just heard you say, I just want to make sure I got this right. The younger generation, Gen Z, let's call them that, the kids coming out of high school, right? The kids that are not quite sure what they want to do with college, or heck, they got out of college and they're like, I don't know what to do. I want to go work with my hands.
Can't find a job what they were trained for.
They're the gaming generation. They're the technology generation. I mean, they're the first generation that is completely digital. Like, they've never seen a phone with a cord, right? They've never been in a car without a cell phone. Like, they've never seen this stuff. And I mean, the internet's been alive since before they were alive.
Is it?
They're the first generation that we can say that about. And you now, over at Interplay Learning, as a plumbing owner, HVAC, I heard you mention, are there any other trades, electricians maybe?
Oh, yes. We have plumbing, HVAC, electric. We play in the multifamily. We play in workforce development, post-secondary ed to enhance their existing programs. We have apprenticeships that we're involved with. We have ways for HVAC techs to earn NATE credits. I mean, it just goes on and on and on of all the things that we can do to help a business owner reduce their expenses to get a person from point A to point B.
So I, as the business owner, could actually go create an apprenticeship program, a training program, a career path for the younger generation, and I can outsource all the curriculum, all the assessments, all the training out to you. And it's done in a way that they are very comfortable with, because you've essentially gamified training.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember I was at a trade show, and we do a lot of work in construction, and they had a crane virtual reality thing set up. And I remember putting the goggles on, and if I leaned forward and looked over, I was 200 feet in the air. And the guy was telling me, he's like, people get sick seeing this. It's so real.
Yes.
And so I imagine that what you're doing even though it's gamified, it's real. And sure, they're probably not lifting a 80-pound unit into place, but they still have to do that action. So that muscle memory is there. They're learning what it takes. They're learning what needs to be done. They're learning how to test, troubleshoot, all the things that we want out of our new people. They're learning that by working with Interplay. Is that right?
Absolutely. I'd like to make a...
Stop turning away work, burning out your team, and working so hard. Learn about the proven process that businesses everywhere are using to save time, save money, and hire all the people they need. We'll train your team to implement and run this process in-house so you can grow as fast as you want. Book a call with our team at corematters.com.
Small example to prove out how this works. Let's say you have 2 apprentices, you hired them at the same time. They've got, 3 months into the company, and they've never done a tankless water heater a change out where they've taken out a tank water heater and put it in tankless. So the first apprentice, you're going to put them in front of this training and you're going to say, Ryan, I want you to watch this module and make sure you watch it before Wednesday. Wednesday, we're going to go do this change out. We're going to take out a tank style water heater. And you do the same thing with another apprentice that doesn't do the training. That person who did the training, when you come on that job, you took the training, you are automatically going to know, I got to drain this water heater. I'm going to need to mess around with the electric. I'm going to have a gas line. I'm going to hang the new water heater on the wall. I know I got to punch 2 holes in the wall to run the supply and return air for exhaust and intake air. You're going to automatically know all these things. And what does that do? That exponentially increases the on-site training time and builds the rapport between the skilled person and the lower skilled person, because they're not asking that proverbial question, what's next?
Yeah.
There's nothing more irritating to the higher skilled person. What do I do now? Whereas if they know those steps, right? Think about that. Think about the efficiency on the job site, the safety factors, all that safety that's embedded into our curriculum. They're going to know, maybe I shouldn't try to move this water heater because it's a 40-gallon water heater full of water that weighs 8.34 pounds. And that's a lot of weight, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to pull it and wrecking their back.
Yeah. It's crazy that you mentioned that. I know a lot of companies that what they do is they take the skilled tech and then they put the new guy in the second seat. They put him in the passenger seat and they're like, you're going to train this guy for the next 3 months. And then we're going to give him his own truck and he's going to do drain clean outs, right? Like that's all he's going to do. And the seasoned guy is like, I'm not a trainer.
That's right.
This is not what I want to do. Do you want me to mentor and coach the guy? Maybe I can help a little bit, but I'm not a trainer. I'm a plumber. Right. I'm a skilled technician. And you're slowing me down, especially if you're in a shop that's paid by how fast we do the jobs. You're slowing me down by putting this guy on here, which is hurting me.
Yeah.
And so we can get them training in the classroom. Now, when they come to the field, they actually can be of value to the seasoned tech. I love it.
And when I mentioned recruit, train, and ramp, the training's the most largest impact. If you don't do that training, if you don't implement that and hold those techs, those younger, earlier entry-level techs accountable to get that training done, then the whole program falls apart.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not, I'm going to suggest you're going to do this training, or here's some training for you to do. Here's the training I've purchased for you to do. Here's the courses I've signed you up to do. I expect them done in 2 weeks. Now, whether you pay them or don't pay them, that's all an HR question and all that part of it. But, there's plenty for companies who have more than 2 or 3 people doing this. There's gamification inside the program. It creates an internal competition for those techs. Like, I'm not going to let you beat me out, Ryan. I'm going to make sure I get more courses done than you. So that creates that competitive edge that they want to learn. You're building people who want to learn. And you're quickly finding out if you had a bad hire. If somebody doesn't want to comply, well, maybe you made a bad choice.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about, is your hiring process solid enough so that you're hiring the right people based on their behaviors, based on where they want to go with their career, based on, is this the right company for them? Just because they're a great employee doesn't mean you're the right employer.
Right.
One of the things that we're talking about here is this idea that we can take someone that does not have any experience. We can put some tools into their hand. And I'm not just talking about the tools of the trade. I'm talking about training tools and their ability to learn. And we can teach them some of these real fundamental concepts of the craft so that they can go out and be productive fairly quickly. and the importance of an apprenticeship program and just having that training, knowing that when you walk into that Chick-fil-A and you sit down and you talk to that cashier about a career path, you actually have something you can deliver for them. One of the things that I hear a lot is no one wants to work anymore. Recruiting is impossible. I can't hire people. I know that, I mean, you've been in this industry for a long time, tons of awards, nationally recognized as an educator, a trainer. So I have no doubt that you know what you're talking about in the education space. How do we use this education? How do we use these training programs to recruit not just the newer techs, but maybe some of the mid-level techs? Maybe they've only been here a year or two. They're rough around the edges. They still need some more support. How do we use these education tools, apprenticeship programs, the tools over at Interplay to better recruit technicians to our businesses?
Perfect question. We actually have assessments in the very beginning of the program. So when a learner starts out, they take an assessment and it says, this is where you are. That same assessment can be used as a tool for the hiring process for somebody who comes in and says, I know how to do all this stuff. I've been doing it for, really?
I don't know what you're talking about, Ken. That never happens.
Right. I am so excited you want to work here today. Let me find out just a few things. And you just turn this laptop around and say, tell me what that is. And if they can't answer it, and how do you troubleshoot it? Walk me through the steps how I troubleshoot this condenser. Tell me how I should troubleshoot this tankless water heater. Where should I start? What do I look for? What kind of tools am I going to need? You're going to, boom, you start rapid firing questions at somebody, you're going to immediately know if they know what they're talking about. So they can do those entry-level assessments and higher level assessments as well and get an outcome. You can also take that person you just spoke about that might have 2 years into this, and you really don't know what this guy knows and what or girl knows or doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that is a great way to find out what their weaknesses are and get them up to speed, right? That's what you want. You want to build this machine that all these pistons are firing. Everybody knows how to do the work. Everybody understands what the expectations are. And you use this as a tool to help you get into those spots.
I love that. And you've already built it all. You know, one of the things that we work with some electrical contractors, and we have one that I'm thinking of right now. And he's like, how do I know that these guys really know their stuff? And they do a lot in the residential service space. And one of his interview questions is, draw for me a 4-way switch and wire it correctly. And most of these guys are like, I could do a 3-way switch, but I don't know what a 4-way switch is. Right. And it's not that much different. But the point is you really get to tell, can they do it? But you've got the tools available for us already built. We don't have to rethink it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think that the number one objection I get to, I don't want to build an apprenticeship program, is I don't have the time to build it. I don't have the time to facilitate it. And, you know, not that I want this episode to just be a commercial for Interplay, but I think the message here is it's not the only way. You don't have to do it on your own. There are tools out there, whether it's Interplay or other companies that are doing these kinds of tools.
That's right.
There are resources out there. And I love it because this is what the generation wants. They grew up with a cell phone in their hand. The VR is all the rage now. And you can, I mean, what a great recruiting tool. Showing a brand new tech, 20 something years old, got the VR helmet on, got the gloves on, however that works, right? And they're learning their trade that's going to be a very lucrative career forever, because it ain't going away. You know, we talked earlier about the impact of robotics. And manufacturing was probably one of the first places where we saw jobs get eliminated because of robotics. We're starting to see robotics come into construction now. And I'm not seeing jobs getting eliminated. What we're doing is we're leveling up the skill set. We're leveling up the type of work that we're doing. And so it's no longer the backbreaking, physically demanding work. Now you're learning how to control the robot, because they're not fully autonomous in this space. And I'm sure the same is true in the skilled trades as well, if there is any robotics happening.
Yeah, I see bits and pieces of it that way. Every once in a while, you see something on YouTube with, you know, a machine carrying over 7 courses of brick, but somebody's running that machine.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody's making that machine run. And that person just isn't an operator. They didn't know all about masonry. Right? So you're just being repurposed.
Yeah.
There's one key note that I think you could have, your listeners could have as a takeaway. If I had a plumbing business today, I would be using Interplay Learning, no doubt about it. And what I would have is a special business card that had a QR code on it. And if I saw that person at Chick-fil-A, I say, here, click on that QR code and you can see everything I can do for you. Yeah. And I'd have a special web page designed that shows that path, that shows this journey of how someone can go from day 1 to day 800. And this is where you're going to be at in dollars if you just do what I ask you to do. Like I would have that a path. I would have it animated. I would pay somebody to build it so that Gen Z person looks at that. They see this digital person walking across the grass and, they're coming out of their apartment and moving into their house now because they have the income to sustain to buy a house. They're going on a nice vacation. I would show that whole path.
There's so much gold in that right there, in just being able to visually represent, be able to show them that this is a good career path. And it's not the stinky, dirty old trades that we think of. Because that was another conversation that we had, and we don't have time to get into that right now, but there's this perception about, especially plumbers, right? Like, what a disgusting, gross, you know what? Very little is unclogging toilets.
That's right.
Like, that's one little piece of it.
Right.
Very little of that craft is the sewage side of it. There's so much more in the art of plumbing that goes so beyond that disgusting, gross side of it. Yeah. Is it there? In every trade. Every trade has something. But you know what? Every job has something.
Of course.
Everyone.
Of course.
Ken, this was great. I love the idea of creating this apprenticeship program. Even if it's not a accredited apprenticeship program, you can still call it that because you're going to take these kids, train them, give them this.
Ours actually is. We have for a higher level fee, we can have your employee be registered with the Department of Labor federally, and it does work in some states.
Oh, wow.
Where their hours, their training, their RTI hours are actually getting submitted. And no matter where that learner goes, their hours are hours, right? You learn the content with no extra supervision.
Okay, so I take that back. I retract what I said. You can get an accredited program, but still just showing people that there's this learning path and then being able to market it and promote it, which is music to my ears because so much of recruiting is marketing, and being able to share this career path and be able to have those conversations and even take it to the next step. Because I know a lot of your guys right now are burned out. They're working overtime. They're working crazy hours. They wish you could just bring in some new people to take on some of the workload and teach them how to have these conversations the next time they go grab a burger and how to look out for these people.
My second nugget of the day is hire women. I love it. You're just missing the boat by not hiring women, especially in today's world. They don't have to be this 240-pound guy that can lift up this 80-pound toolbox and sling it around. Those days are all gone.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't even have that person today in today's world because of insurance purposes doing those kinds of acts, lifting up heavy bikes. So, man, go after the women. Bring them into your company. And if you're in the service business, my gosh, it's the best way to break down resistance when that female goes on, as a service tech, goes on a call and has a customer that's another female.
I love it.
It's a different experience.
And there's probably so much opportunity. And, one of the things that we say a lot of times, if you're not attracting good people, it's probably because your company isn't attractive to good people.
Absolutely.
And if you're not attracting women into the trades, it's probably because you're not attractive to women in the trades. Like, it's that simple.
Yep.
One of the first plumbing companies we ever worked with was third generation, owned by a woman. And she was just figuring this out. How do we get more women in the trades? And she started partnering with local supply houses to run these women in plumbing days. And it was just a really cool event to see these women come in and get careers. And not everybody's going to show up and be a technician, exactly. But I remember one in particular, she showed up. She's like, plumbing is awesome. She became a supply house rep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There's many facets of this industry. You don't have to turn a wrench to be part of the industry.
But we're getting more women in trades. I love it. Hey, Ken, this has been great. I can't believe we're at time already. I feel like there's so much more we could talk about. But I want people listening right now to know how to get a hold of you and to learn more about what Interplay can do, how you can help them with this training and even this accredited program, and how it's something, I'm going to guess it's probably pretty close to turnkey. There's probably little they need to do to make this happen.
Yeah, we have a whole customer support system in place, mechanism to help you implement it and get it done. This isn't just buy it, see you later. Where you come to, you go to us, we fix it, we help you.
How do they get a demo of this platform and how do they learn more about how they can get it in their company?
go right to interplaylearning.com. You can email me at Midgett, Midgett at interplaylearning.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and send me a direct message. I will make sure that you get the free demo and you can spend time with a salesperson to show you all the specifics about it. And, you know, when we talk to people and give a demo, that's the whole point. We talk to people. It's not just canned demonstrations. We customize them for your needs. So that's the two ways.
I was looking at this and I'm going to guess that this is fairly accurate, but it's so, the pricing is so incredibly affordable. Like, this isn't something that's going to break the bank.
You could not think about building a training center and having somebody warehouse it and take care of all the materials and pay instructors to do what we do for the price we do it for.
It's insane. So definitely take advantage of that. We're going to have all those links in the show notes so people know how to get a hold of you. Ken, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've really enjoyed it and I've learned a ton. So I know our listeners have too.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. It's been a joy.